go.
I'm having some problems with it.
All right, everybody, how are we doing? We're all good?
Yeah, thanks.
Good, having a fab week? Right, turn this off. Right, cool, apologies for my lateness. Zoom didn't want to let me into my own meeting for some strange reason, so I had to kind of sign back in a few times. Just been a bit difficult, but we got there in the end, so it's all good. All good. So just waiting for maybe another one or two. It's just gone 9 o'clock. Just gone. I see some pajamas there. There's a cup of tea, pint of orange juice. Very good. Go with the coffee.
Get off that.
Okay. Right, there we go, there we go. All right, so lots of regulars, a couple of newbies, good stuff, good stuff. All right, so pens and papers, everything kind of ready, pretty much set to go. Okay, let's have a quick look. I'm just going to play around with this quick. All right, okay, I think that's pretty cool. All right, cool. Let's have a look. All right, that's all right. Sweet, need a pen. All right, so welcome everybody. Thanks very, very much again for joining me for this Group X Nutrition Carbohydrate webinar. I've upgraded the Zoom, so we're going to be here for probably more than 30 minutes. Not really planning on keeping you too long, obviously, because I'm well aware that we've all got attention spans that will run out at some point. And even though we may have something interesting to say, by the time we reach kind of 45, 50 minutes, it's on the kind of wind down, all right? At least for myself, that is what normally happens anyway. So I'll keep it fairly short, fairly concise. There was probably about maybe 8 or 9 topics or kind of subsections that I was going to cover. I've whittled it down to about 4/5. So we'll just see how it kind of goes. The good news is that I've spent a bit of time in writing down a lot of like key points, a lot of key bullet points, just on a PDF that I will be sending out in the email that will be probably maybe Saturday or Sunday. So you can read through that again. It covers everything that I am kind of saying, and it will give you a good reference to sort of just maybe keep somewhere, print off if you fancy, but it's a bit more sciencey, it's a bit more numbers in there and kind of stuff. It's just short bullet points. There's no big paragraphs, but it will give you a pretty good background into a few things. Talks a little bit about sort of guidelines for fiber, in terms of like numbers for maximizing muscle glycogen replenishment after your exercise, and all that kind of stuff. Just gives you a little bit more sort of detail, just in case I end up kind of going off on big long rants and then cover everything that needs to be sort of covered. So the trick with this obviously is going to be trying to find that unique balance of enough education that you probably will know most about, or probably know some about, but also give you a little bit more that you don't know, hopefully. And then also try to put it across in how it fits in with our lifestyle and how it fits in with your lifestyle. Because most of this stuff is all from, sports nutrition, fitness professionals in terms of, sports nutrition, professional sports people, where a lot of the tests and research are done on weightlifters, sprinters, and endurance runners, as well as cyclists, just because it's really, really easy to measure different volumes and different expiration kind of rates when people are sitting on a bike, as opposed to doing, classes and all that kind of stuff. It's not really a demographic that we get to partake in those kind of research things. So it's finding that unique balance where we have to have the understanding that we most definitely are not genetic population. We're not 4, 5, 6 stone overweight. We don't need to worry too much about type 2 diabetes sort of thing. BMI is not really relevant to us because we carry a little bit of lean muscle mass. So, it's just my cat. And what else? Yeah, but we're not fitness professionals in terms of, You know, we don't have this big support team. We don't have our own personal dietitian that plans out everything for us. We don't wake up, just go train, come home, relax, massage, recovery, go train again or something like that, and then compete on the weekends. We kind of, you know, a bit of everything, you know, is our kind of lifestyle, and is having that unique appreciation of all the knowledge and of all the fundamentals and how we best apply it towards our kind of lifestyle without getting too stressed out or too, for a better word, anal over the kind of small things, as it were. Okay. So let's jump straight into it. So carbohydrates, one of the 3 macronutrients, okay, and it's the body's preferred energy source. For clients, for those who've probably been following me for a little while, you will know that I've always said generally the more active you are, the more number of classes you teach, the higher intensity classes that you teach, the more carbohydrate you need, okay? It is literally, carbohydrate is a litmus paper for your performance, for your burpees, for your sprints, for your weightlifting, whatever else, okay? That it's just a performance and recovery fuel. So if you want to think performance, if you want to think recovery, go to think carbohydrates, okay? It's pretty much as simple as that. If you have low activity, low step count, then generally your carbohydrates are a little bit, your intake can be a little bit lower, roughly in between like 1 to 3 grams per kilogram body weight, okay? That's kind of a low number or low, target number of calories from carbohydrates. If you're teaching anywhere from, from 6 up to 20 classes a week, then you are between the 3 and 5 kind of number as almost like a baseline, okay? It's just a rough generic guideline of carbohydrate that you will kind of need to sustain performance, recovery, and everything else without chewing into muscle tissue and causing yourself, health issues and all that kind of stuff. If you are doing a lot of training, a lot of steps, and teaching 20 plus classes, then yes, you'll be having 5, 6, 7, 8 grams per kilogram body weight. And there are obviously sports people out there that are doing that, and they don't get fat for it because the intake manages their activity. Okay, it's as simple as that. So you're kind of more extreme cyclists, your canoeist cyclists, swimmers, big time, they're up at that 6 to kind of 10 mark. Okay, just for very little tangent already, nice and early on. For the times that I've done a bit of carb loading for powerlifting competitions, for Lesmo's lives that we used to have, the old-fashioned GFXs and all the big events we used to kind of have, when the only thing that kind of got me through doing 6 grits, 1 pump and 1 sprint, the last big one I had down in London, was carb loading for 2 days and making sure that I had jelly babies and electrolytes to help me go on through the kind of day. Okay, if I didn't have those kind of nutrition strategies and help, of course, a good kind of baseline of fitness definitely helps. I certainly wasn't as heavy as I am now. It was maybe about 2 years ago, perhaps. So it definitely helped. There's no way that would have managed that if I hadn't thought about preparing, really, really well, kind of food-wise, carbohydrate-wise. And when I did do that, the whole point of me actually saying this was that I was trying to hit 10 grams per kilogram body weight. So my target was 1,000 grams of carbohydrate on the Friday and on the Saturday, okay, or the 2 days before, all right? And I didn't wake up on the day of Lesmo's GFX or GF Live fat, okay? I didn't wake up with a big belly or anything like that. I woke up actually feeling really lean, really quite, as lean as I could, because my muscle cells were packed with water and were packed with fuel, with glycogen. So filling up your muscle cells gives your body an appearance of being leaner, okay? So it's like being really kind of pumped up, and then at the end of the day, you feel really flat and deflated, okay? That's just the way, that's the way it kind of goes, okay? Nothing to do with body fat levels. Anyway, tangent already, let's get out of the way. Right, so basic structure. Basic structure is that it has a couple of chemicals, namely CHO. So if you're dealing with any kind of sports nutrition people, when I'm running up kind of programs and all that kind of stuff, it's P, it's CHO, and it's fats, okay? Carbons, hydrogens, and oxygens, okay? Generally structures around about like a C, 6 carbon, hexagon, hydrogen is 12, and oxygen is 6, okay? So 1, 2, 1. Also, we need to know it's got carbs in it, hydrogens in it, and oxygens in it, okay? You'll notice it doesn't have nitrogens in it, which, if you remember from the protein webinar, is what makes protein unique, is a nitrogen element, okay? And that's it, okay? We have monosaccharides, disaccharides, oligosaccharides, and polysaccharides. So saccharides is a Greek word for sugar. Mono, as you probably know, means single, 1, di, 2, Oligo is many, generally between 3 and 20, and poly is lots and lots and lots and lots. Okay, so when people get really, really stressed about simple sugars, complex carbs, and all this kind of stuff, and so you should only have complex carbs, you only have low GI carbs, all this kind of stuff. Okay, they don't probably really appreciate that no matter what fucking carb you have, it's going to get boiled down to glucose. Okay, and at the end of the day, no matter, it's going to go from this all the way through here. It's going to get broken down from a complex, long chain, highly branched amino acid down to a monosaccharide. Okay, and the 3 monosaccharides we have is glucose, fructose, and galactose. Okay, sorry, cat's just running around the flat. And then when you're kind of building it up, 2 monos become a disaccharide. So when you add a glucose and a glucose, it becomes a maltose. When you add a glucose and a fructose, it becomes a sucrose, kind of like table sugar. When you add glucose and galactose, you get lactose, which is your milk sugar from dairy, from cows and kind of breast milk. Okay, those are your disaccharides, the most common ones. All right, and that's essentially it. Okay, very similar to like fatty acids. You imagine it like a big chain, like a big ball, and then it gets broken down into the usable currency, the usable saccharide. Okay, the body can't really do much with glycogen, with polysaccharides, or even starch. It's got to get broken down into a glucose molecule. Then it goes through a few cycles, glycolysis, and the Krebs cycle, and then out comes ATP. Okay, if you remember from maybe not level 2, what do you call it? Your fitness instruction, gym member kind of thing, level 2, gym fitness instructors kind of stuff, talk about energy systems. Okay, and the basic energy cell for any cell in the body is ATP. All right, and glucose creates 38 ATPs, okay, per 1 glucose molecule. So that ratio is not bad. You might say not bad. 1 glucose for 38 ATPs, not too bad at all. The difference is that 1 fatty acid, again, depending on the length of the fatty acid, but 1 fatty acid will give you anywhere between 144 to 190 ATPs. Okay, so 144. All right, so the difference there is quite large. But the issue is the time and energy systems that will give you these ATPs, okay? When we train in the anaerobic energy system, we predominantly use glucose. So when we are teaching body attack, body pump, anything that has a heart rate above 75%, we are going through glucose and carbohydrate at a rapid rate, okay? We don't really touch our fat stores. Okay, we do touch them, but not as much. We deplete glycogen and carbs very, very quickly. If we are doing endurance and low intensity steady state stuff like marathon running, anything between like 50 and 60% kind of max heart rate, then we are predominantly, not exclusively, but predominantly burning through adipose and fat, because the time that it takes fat cells to produce 144 is adequate because the urgency isn't there. Okay, the heart rate isn't there. Muscle cells aren't contracting and firing as quick as it is when you're doing body pump or grits or sprints or whatever. Okay, so that's the big kind of key and main differences, that when we hear certain things about generic fat loss diets and about, you know, keto and about fat and carbs are bad and all this other kind of nonsense, we've got to really appreciate that we're a group instructor. What are our needs, right? We need fuel to the fire quick. We are contracting muscle quick. We are training high intensities, all right? Our energy systems predominantly anaerobic, okay? It's not like any system is just on aerobic only and then flicks to anaerobic only. It kind of sways between the two, but it would generally be predominantly one or predominantly the other one, okay? So it's just that sort of cognizance and bit of awareness about that stuff and why, you know, the generic diets talk about fat burning and all this other kind of nonsense, you know, when in fact it's really calorie deficit that actually helps you lose weight in the long term than just thinking about exclusively an hour of fat burning exercise as opposed to an hour of carb burning exercise, okay, if that makes sense. All right, so that's pretty much the first kind of stuff done in terms of basic structure and a little bit about the kind of energy kind of currencies and all that kind of stuff, okay? Probably don't need to know too much about it in terms of takeaway. It's just a kind of background knowledge on the monos, dyes, and kind of polys, and how much energy you get out of a glucose molecule and the difference between fatty acid energy system, predominantly aerobic, beg your pardon, and then predominantly anaerobic energy system for kind of glucose and sugars. Okay. Don't mention down kind of fiber as well. So fiber is an indigestible carbohydrate that your body can't really use for energy. Okay. So generally found in things like, beans, oats, nuts, seeds, vegetables, fruits, pretty much. Okay. Different targets for male and kind of female guidelines wise. Some soluble in water, some insoluble in water. And the key for good health is you want a bit of mix and match. Okay. You don't really generally find in the like in food labels, it just says fiber. It doesn't say insoluble or soluble fiber. Okay. But if you have a variety in your foods, variety in nuts, variety in vegetables, variety literally in all your foods, you will cross over. You will have some soluble and some insoluble, and you kind of need both. One's not bad, one's not good. You kind of need both. They just have different purposes. Okay. But essentially, they kind of help you poop, help you kind of pee, keep things kind of regular, and get rid of any kind of wastage. Okay, you don't really want wastage still in your body. You don't want to be carrying the extra weight. You don't want all that kind of stuff in your kind of gut. It does help lower the risk of bowel cancers, all that kind of stuff as well. So just having, a good adequate intake of fruit and veg is good for health, but also good for, your whole body. Okay. And that's pretty much the deal on kind of fiber. Females, roughly minimum 25 grams per day. Males, roughly 35 grams or above. Okay. Best thing to do before you just start jumping down and hoarding down fiber pills or chomping down tons of vegetables and broccoli and thing, track your fiber intake for around about 5 days. Get a rough average and then slowly increase it by like 3 grams per week. Just slowly increment it up, okay? You do not want to go from 10 grams to 30 grams within a week or so. It will cause you major GI discomfort, okay? Read between the lines, okay? GI discomfort, gastrointestinal discomfort, okay? All right, so first section done and done. Is everybody still awake and still happy? Yep, all good. So the next one comes a real kind of fun one. I really like talking about this. Insulin and glucagon, okay? So you know the crack is that everybody is really, really fearful of insulin, okay? It is like worse than COVID, okay? It's worse than anything you can ever imagine. People lose their shit over insulin. They don't know why though. This is the funny thing, right? If somebody freaks out about insulin, you go, why? Why are you so scared of insulin? And they go, they don't actually know. They can't give you an answer, all right? They just heard that insulin's bad for you because insulin is secreted or raised when you have sugar, and then sugar's bad, insulin's bad, and then it suppresses the release, it suppresses fat oxidation, which is bad because then you store fat, and then, life just kind of ends and it's just really bad. So don't have sugar, don't have insulin, and you'll be much healthier, okay? It's that literally stark, blinding amazement that people have with insulin, all right? And it obviously does my head in a little bit, but the main reason that it does my head in is because your body needs insulin, okay? If your body does not secrete insulin, you have a dietary dysfunction disease called diabetes. And then you have to inject yourself with insulin every time you eat a freaking meal, okay? Now, I have friends that are type 1 diabetes, and it's not by many means life restrictive or you can't do what you want to do. You can't be lean, you can't be strong, you can't be healthy. It doesn't mean anything like that. It's just a real pain in the ass, all right? Imagine every time you eat a food, you've got to inject yourself. You've got to maintain your blood glucose level. It's just something you don't want, all right? You want insulin to be secreted when you eat food. It is a hormone, all right? And people freak out about hormones. Oh, hormones. Well, hormones are pretty important in the human body. Don't have hormones in the body, you're, again, fucked, okay? You're knackered. You're in a bad place if you do not have hormones. Ladies need hormones, men have hormones. Sometimes we have the same hormones, sometimes we have different hormones or different levels of hormones, right? But we need hormones. But people freak out because it's storage hormone, and then it's like, oh, it puts food into your muscle cells and your fat cells. And you're like, yeah, that's cool. That's fucking what it's meant to do. That's what insulin is meant to do, okay? Your body's really clever. When you eat 400 or 500 calories worth of food, right? So you've had a lunch, you've had breakfast, you had whatever, and you got a bit of protein, a bit of carbs, a little bit of fats, okay? Your body is really smart. You've got to give your body a bit of credit, okay? You start chewing before you've even eaten it, and you start smelling food, you start prepping food, you're in the cafe, you're in the kitchen, whatever. Your body knows already that, hey, dinner time's coming, right? It starts preparing itself. Salivary amylase is released in the mouth. Everything starts coming and going. So the minute you start eating your food, the body starts preparing itself to break it down, okay, digest it, break it down, absorb it, and put it where it kind of needs to go. Now, remember back in protein webinar, protein is the only macronutrient that your body cannot really store well. Your body can store carbohydrate and fat, because guess what? You don't want to be eating every half hour or every hour, all right? It's a little bit inconvenient. So you've got to eat, and then you'll be away doing whatever you need to do for the next 3, 4, 5 hours. You need to kind of store on, you need to kind of be able to have a storage mechanism, all right? So what insulin does is basically, it takes blood glucose, it just manages your blood glucose level. So when you eat, blood glucose is raised because you've taken energy, you've taken the substrate, food, into the gut, being dissolved with all the chemicals, all the acids, which is why alkaline stuff is a fucking waste of time, because your stomach and get gastrointestinal tract is all acidic and very acidic, like pH of 3 and 3.2. Comes into your bloodstream, and now it's going to get transported into either your muscle cells or your adipose, aka your fat cells, okay, for storage, for later use. All right, so you're not teaching at, say, you have breakfast at 8 o'clock in the morning. You're not teaching at 8 o'clock in the morning. You're teaching at, say, 11 o'clock. So you don't want high levels of blood glucose, because blood glucose, we're going to give you ATP to the muscle cells. But you don't need it at 8 o'clock. You're still just getting ready, washing your face, driving to the gym, or doing whatever else, okay? You need it in 2 or 3 hours time. So the body goes like, okay, right now, we're at rest. We're at home. We're not exercising. There's no adrenaline going in the body. All this fuel that we've not eaten needs to go somewhere. So insulin comes along and goes, hey, I'm really good at packing shit and storing stuff. I'll pack and store all this energy that you have now in your bloodstream into your muscle cells, okay? That's how it kind of works. As simple as that. Your body can store up to between 450 to 550 grams of carbohydrate in your skeletal muscle tissue. You can also store between 80 and 100 grams in your liver. You can store liver glycogen and muscle glycogen, okay? And the stuff that keeps your brain kind of going generally comes from like the liver glucose, okay? From like the liver. What's going to say? So yeah, so you eat food, blood glucose levels come up, the body senses and is aware of this, okay? It's got neuron receptors and knows what's going on in its own body really well. And it goes, we don't need this energy right now. Pack it away, store it, right? Insulin comes along and shoves it away, no problem. Then 2-3 hours later, or whenever you start exercising, walking, requiring energy, okay? We're requiring ATP. So essentially before it starts, so insulin takes glucose and converts it into glycogen, okay? I'm not going to write them on the board, but insulin converts glucose into glycogen, muscle or liver glycogen, okay? So it goes this way, if you imagine it, right? We're all going that way. Put it away for like a rainy day. Put it away for another time. Then 2-3 hours later, or whenever you're exercising, now you start moving, heart rate starts to get lifted, you start to release a little bit of adrenaline, and the body goes, holy shit balls, we need energy, right? We need, what's that thing called? Yeah, we need ATP to the muscle cell, because the muscle cell now is contracting, it's firing, we're doing burpees and shit, we're going crazy, we're running around on the bike and doing dance classes and all that stuff. We need energy. So, you know, the caller's like, oi, get that energy out of the muscle cells and get it out of storage and get it to where it needs to be. Then the hormone that works opposite insulin, these two work together in tandem. They're like a tag team. Glucagon comes along and goes, oh, I'm really cool at unpacking stuff, right? I'll unpack the glycogen and release it as glucose so you can convert it to ATP. And then you have the energy that you need to do your classes, do your training, do your high level intensity exercises and stuff, right? And that's it. And then your body maintains that blood glucose level based on the level of exercise you're doing, the intensity of exercise you're doing, and it manages to control a steady glucose level through your body. You don't want one of these overworking. You don't want one of these not working. You want both of these working together because they're a tag team. They're a team. Without one, you're like knackered. And if you don't convert your blood glucose into glycogen first, then you will end up kind of crashing and finding yourself in a position called hypoglycemia. Okay, which is a bad place to be. It's when you start feeling dizzy, start feeling faint, your memory goes, and it's just a bad, unhealthy place to kind of be. You do not want that low blood glucose level spiked or condition at any time. And that's essentially insulin and glucagon. They're both hormones. You want them, you need them, okay? Yes, insulin is released when you eat. Yes, it's meant to. It has to. If it doesn't, you've got diabetes, okay? Simple as that. But it's good because it stores stuff for when you need it later, all right? It stores in the muscle cells, it stores in the fat cells, and then when you need it, it comes back via glucagon, which takes glycogen into glucose. Simple as that, okay? So we do not need to fear insulin or by any means. People get in generic population kind of diets and get a little bit themselves a bit confused, not confused, but they get really, I'll use the word again, really, really obsessive that fat oxidation is suppressed when insulin is released, okay? That's just normal, that's natural. The body doesn't need to be releasing more fatty acids into the bloodstream when it's got energy coming in via the gut. It's trying to go the opposite direction. So when that happens for like a half hour, people think like, if you release insulin, you can't lose body fat, okay? But losing body fat is over like a 24-hour period, 7 days a week. You might eat three or 4 times a day. So for small little windows, you suppress fat oxidation, maybe 4 hours a day. There are 24 hours in a day, all right? So you are only suppressing fat oxidation for a teeny tiny portion of the day, right? This is where you've really got to like fucking think and not just take something you hear on a celeb or Instagram or whatever else, just go like, all right, cool. Insulin's bad because it suppresses fat. Did you hear that? And then Betty or Cara and whoever goes around the whole workplace saying, don't have sugar because it releases insulin and suppresses fat oxidation. You will get fat if you have sugar, which is the biggest load of bollocks ever, obviously, okay? Because calories count, right? Calorie deficit and all that stuff, okay? Cool. Hopefully that makes fairly sense and fairly kind of clear and concise about insulin and glucagon, okay? Whew, sweet. Moving on. So guidance, I'm just going down here. Guidance for you and teaching. Performance and recovery in intradrinks, okay? So I'm aware of talking quite fast and a lot of like numbers and maybe different things are kind of coming out. So I'll do this one hopefully with a bit of kind of caution, hopefully not lose anybody out of sheer utter boredom by any chance, all right? So yeah, as I mentioned earlier on, carbohydrate is all about performance recovery. Fitness instructors, that is our bread and butter, all right? We are role models, we are fitness, we are everything athletic and inspiring and full of energy, okay? So we need carbohydrates. Carbohydrates are really great, obviously, for tons of energy, but also they spare muscle tissue. If I remember correctly from the protein kind of webinar, the carbs is kind of like the bouncer at the door, right? We want to be anabolic in terms of kind of protein, to be lean and strong and healthy. We don't really want to be catabolic. If we don't have enough carbohydrate intake, when the body needs fuel, it goes hunting it from protein and muscle tissue. That's a bad place to be, okay? Bad place to be. Yeah, anyway, and that's where if you do often find yourself feeling really, really sore from exercise and muscle tissue, like a lot of excessive DOMs, generally because protein is quite low and your body is coming off the protein, so it just can't repair and maintain itself as well as it should be. Okay. So let's see where to go to the next performance-wise. So yeah, in the PDF that I've written out, they'll be getting sent in the emails. I've just basically gone through carbohydrate intake before exercise, and then during exercise, and then kind of post-exercise, okay? And the whole idea is obviously to have as much performance as possible, but also to recover as well and as quick as you possibly can. I'll talk every now and again towards, if you're teaching again in the same day, okay? So I know a lot of group instructors, particularly full-time, may teach in the morning, and then do a job or go home or do whatever else on the like lunchtime, afternoon, and then go back again and teach maybe a different gym, same gym, and go teach again. Okay, very kind of common. Or a lot of people are really active during the day in their job, on their feet, and they go teaching 1, 2, 3 classes at night on a regular basis. Or you teach in the morning and then you go train stuff, CrossFit, running, sports, weightlifting, whatever in the afternoon. If you are doing repeated bouts with separate time, then muscle glycogen replenishment literally is the gold standard. It's a major, major thing for you to help recover and then get prepared for performance again, okay? If you are not teaching repeated bouts within the same day, okay, like more than 8 hours difference time-wise, so like at night and then like the next morning sort of thing, then it's not as important because you'll have more feeding opportunities between them, if that makes sense, okay? So it's still important, but it's not as important. If you finish teaching at, say, 12 o'clock lunchtime and you're back again at 6 o'clock in the afternoon or early evening, yeah, this is, the post-recovery is very, very important, okay? So we'll go back to the start. Carbohydrate intake before exercise. So ideally, where possible, so breakfast might not be possible, but lunch and dinners so certainly can, or when you're teaching later on. Between 3 to 4 hours before your exercise, before your training, you want to be consuming a large meal of carbohydrate, okay? Anywhere between 100 up to 300 kind of grams. So think of it as a large, carb-heavy, low to moderate protein, but carb-heavy meal, all right? High GI, low GI, doesn't make a huge difference, okay? So 3 to 4 hours, you want to be having a big meal, okay? Everyone's a bit different, bit of trial and error, but that's the rough kind of guidelines coming from sports nutrition, okay? Anywhere from 60 minutes to less, then you're looking for, again, maybe slightly smaller portion. This is where kind of like fruits, liquids, shakes kind of come into it really quite well. Between 30 and 60 minutes, it's ideal if you can to have another small kind of topping up or another small carbohydrate meal, maybe some electrolytes, again, low amount of protein perhaps. So again, like things like milk come in handy, soy obviously, almond, whatever. But fruits are really kind of good there as well, okay? Or a smaller sandwich, like half a sandwich or something like that, or one slice of toast or whatever it may be, okay? Small portion of low-fat yogurt, whatever it may be. And then intra, so during. So it kind of falls a bit into total calories and macros because it does aid towards your carbohydrate total intake of the day, but it's also got as like a supplement, okay? So very wary about really kind of pushing these like a lot. But if you're not hitting your carbohydrate total throughout the day, so say your total is like 250 grams, okay? And you're struggling just to eat that, then you've got to think about, maybe I can drink it, okay? And when you're doing classes and teaching at high intensity levels and stuff, having an intra carbohydrate drink with lots of mono and disaccharides, okay? Like your cyclic dextrin, your dextrose, your glucose, all these kind of things, fructose, is really advantageous because you're getting the fuel to the blood stream and into the muscle cells as you need it, okay? The body is primed, the body is like ready, the foot down on the floor, and it's a great way of getting maybe 20, 30, or 40 grams into your body within an hour, okay? Well, within a class, all right? So it's something to think about. If you're struggling with total carbs, think about intra. If you haven't had a big heavy carb meal 3 to 4 hours beforehand, then intra carbs are probably even more relevant, okay? More relevant. A lot of the intra carbohydrate drinks will obviously have a few electrolytes in it as well, vitamins and minerals, but many electrolytes, which are really important, okay? So it's generally really quite cheap, tons of different brands out there. It's not a bad way, just to make sure that when you're kind of teaching, you're also drinking fluids, so you're thinking about getting fuel on board, but you're getting water in obviously as well, so it'll help with total hydration. Then recovery. So this is the one here. So if you want to go pen and paper down here, I'll fling off a little number at you. So the first 4 hours post-exercise is really key. Your body is primed to recover, to resynthesize glycogen, okay? Insulin levels are sort of, will be maximized. We have a bit of protein in with the carbohydrate. It's the best and most optimal way to replenish muscle glycogen. Not just protein by itself, not just carbs by itself, but protein and carbohydrate is like the double thumbs up, winner, chicken dinner kind of thing, okay? So you're looking for roughly 1 gram per kilogram body weight every hour up to the 4th hour, if that makes sense, okay? I'll try to repeat it word for word again. So 1 gram per kilogram body weight every hour up to the 4th hour, okay? So you can immediately start thinking about some numbers. If you weigh 60 kilograms, 60 kilograms, every hour, 60 grams of carbs, 60 grams of carbs, 60 grams of carbs, 60 grams of carbs. That will make sure that you have almost pretty much fully replenished muscle glycogen if you are teaching, again, in that for the 4th hour, i.e. again, within 8 hours after your first kind of class, okay? Now, obviously, hey, I know the deal with work and with teaching and driving and work around and all that kind of stuff. It might be really difficult to like, yeah, listen, eating every hour is just not going to happen, okay? Not going to happen. But what you need to think about is that what it's trying to tell you is that that post window of that 4 hours is super key, all right? And within the 4 hours, if you just times that 1 gram by 4, it's giving you 4 grams. So 4 grams times your kilogram body weight is 240 if you weigh 60 grams. So it's telling you that daily, within that window, you need to try and get as close to that number as you can. So whether it's 2 times 100 or 4 times 60 or 8 times 30, the idea is the same. Get that carbohydrate back into your body as quick and frequently as you can. And generally, because you're teaching again very soon, you want more high GI foods than the low GI foods. And that's where my superfood, the Dunkin' Donut, comes into its own, okay? That's where a cheeky chocolate milkshake, a muffin, okay, something that is a bit refined, will clear the gut quickly, okay? We're working almost opposite to what gen population want to do. They want high satiety, low calorie foods, but we're not them, okay? You guys are a bit kind of superhuman. You need a fuel in. So, you know, don't eat a dozen donuts, but you can obviously have a bit of fruit juice, bit of white bread and jam, whatever it is. Cream rice is really kind of good, one of my favorites, and make sure you hit those numbers or get close to those numbers if possible. Okay, I can almost guarantee you, just by the food diaries that I've read over the years, the majority of the time, that's not even a consideration. And if it is, it's almost by accident, and the numbers don't even really come close to what you should be kind of aiming for. All right. And if you remember, if you watched maybe the Les Moores UK nutrition webinars I did last year, talking about this, that ratio of optimal recovery post-exercise, post-training, 1 gram protein, 2 grams carbohydrate. So if you now think about a meal after you teach or after you train, 30 grams, rings a bell, protein, doesn't it? 30 grams protein, 60 grams carbohydrate, okay? That's the kind of meal and food combinations you want to be looking for when you have finished teaching or training. Protein in there, definitely, and then obviously double up on the kind of carb, okay? And that'll make a huge difference. Other little factors to sort of include would be, so sort of teaching, training, competition, carbohydrate intake will be trying to keep fiber away from that kind of training window, that exercise window, just because it does slow down digestion. It does keep you feeling full, which is fantastic, obviously, for general population, want to be feeling fuller for longer, high satiety, low calorie diets, of course. But when we're trying to get fuel and clear our gut quick, we don't want to be jumping around with all this food, you know, in our stomach. We got to be careful as to when we do take a lot of our, or the majority of our fiber, and it should ideally try to be away from those teaching exercise windows, okay? So of course, I'm not telling you not to eat fruit and vegetables and nuts and legumes and beans, but just be mindful as to how much you have and how close to that window, the exercise training window, okay? What else? Yeah, everything else in the PDF in case I've missed anything out from there, okay? So the biggest thing there in terms of like holistically and kind of health-wise, just got to have that knowledge in your mind and then think about the different foods that you might be wanting to have across the day. You know, what meal is going to be like your pre-workout meal? What are you going to have maybe an hour before? What will you have straight afterwards? And then when will you ensure that you get the majority of your fiber and the majority of everything in that you haven't kind of eaten, right? So your very high kind of vegetable dinner, it'll be after you've exercised. Make that the last thing, okay? If you're going to be just waking up in the morning and going straight into a class, yeah, cereal, you know, porridge, all that kind of stuff, white bread, bit of toast, a couple of eggs perhaps, yeah, fine, no problems at all. You don't really want to be having too much fiber, too much fats when you're only going to be exercising 30 to 60 minutes time sort of thing, okay? Yeah. I covered pretty much most of the stuff I wanted to cover there, so nothing too bad. Just quickly, daily targets. So kind of covered this beforehand. I'm not going to spend too much time on this, but your targets of carbohydrate literally dependent on the number of steps you take, how active you are, and the intensity that you kind of train or teach at. Okay, you can go between like 1 and 3, you can go between like 3 and 5, or you go like 5 and plus. Okay, but once you first set your protein, then figure out about your carbohydrate, your work fat off a percentage of the total, and then you roughly get the macronutrients that you're kind of aiming for, okay? And that's pretty much how it kind of goes. Yeah, that's pretty much what we can really kind of say for daily targets. You've got daily target for fiber, daily targets for carbs, really quite independent. Nobody is the exact same, okay? Hence why these are quite kind of rough guidelines. Generally, what I do with kind of clients is to probably get more carbohydrate than they probably think they kind of need. But when they've increased protein and start kind of tracking, then immediately they generally lose a little bit of weight quite quickly, just because they've been a bit more mindful perhaps and having more protein. And then they find the energy levels just literally go through the roof as well, because now we're looking after muscle tissue because we have enough carbohydrate and we are recovering better as well. So it's like kind of like double-edged win. One quick thing before I forget, just popped into my head. Talking about last week, supplements, I think, about water weight. So 1 gram of glycogen takes in it with 3 grams of water. Okay, carbohydrate is very hydrophilic, means it likes water, right? Water is its buddy. It needs water to do these chemical reactions, going from poly down to mono down to poly. It needs water. Okay, there's a word for it where it requires water. It's not hydrostatic or hydro whatever else, but it needs water present. Without water, it can't function properly. Okay, so it likes water essentially, but you may be a bit obviously fearful. Water weight, the scales. Oh no, I'm not going to weigh the same I was when I was 16. And it's like, no, well, you're 36 and have had 2 kids. That's fucking not going to happen anyway. But like, don't worry about the weight too much. Don't be upset with the weight. Use the pictures in the mirror. Use close eyes. Lose skin feeling kind of stuff. Can you pinch, all that kind of stuff. Use them as better kind of guides, because having more carb, which is energy, in your muscle cell, and taking water with it, those are 2 very, very important things that you need as a fitness instructor. And you need water to literally function as a human being. You will die without having adequate water. Your body cannot do what it needs to do, cannot create hormone, cannot move vitamins and minerals around, cannot do intracellular functions. Water is the baseline for health and for living. So having something that draws more water into your muscle cell is not a bad thing. It's a fucking very, very good thing. Okay, so just be mindful that if you do start eating more, your body will have more fuel in its muscle cells. That doesn't mean you're gaining fat. Okay, it doesn't mean you're gaining fat. So just bear that in mind almost, just in case, and use the references of, as Jenny kind of said to some clients, in your own comfort, bikini, whatever, hot pants, whatever, same lighting, same time of day, once a week, once a month, whatever suits you. Use front, side, back, whatever it is, for if you're looking to kind of change your physique, lean up a bit, whatever. Okay, best way to do it. Plus dress sizes, and generally your friends will be able to tell you. Okay. Cool. Last one. It's about 45 minutes going. So just kind of very gently, just going to touch on the difference between obviously GFI and general population kind of diets. So just to kind of wrap up, really, I talked a lot about this on the webinars as well last year for Lesbos UK, and it's just trying to have that cognizance, that awareness that we are very, very different. We are very unique. I've heard it and read it so many times with clients before, that I've tried this diet, I've tried that diet, and I've tried this one, whatever. And it's like, GFIs, group instructors, we don't really need to diet. We just need to eat to our needs. We need to find a consistent, accountable way to improve our health. Eat adequate macronutrients of each one, because each one serves its purpose. All right, they're all there for a reason. So hence why I don't like needlessly omitting or restricting any one of those 3 macronutrients, because they're all there for a very, very good reason. So yeah, we just have very, very different needs. I think I use the analogy of, like, if you're trying to hammer a nail on the wall and you've got an option of using a cucumber or using a hammer, you're going to use the hammer because it's the right tool for the job. You're not going to smash in a nail with a cucumber, because it's the wrong thing for the job. All right, so you've got to think about that in terms of nutrition. It needs to support me, it needs to kind of nourish me. It's going to give me a feel, recover. It's going to make my skin look good. It's going to make me feel strong, feel healthy, feel confident, all this kind of stuff. But general population diets, generally, everyone, as you may have seen from the infographic I shared from Mr. Lane Norton, or rather Dr. Lane Norton, whether it's keto, whether it's like intermittent fasting, whether it's whatever, or that ridiculous thing that Lauren sent me about fasting water and only drinking living water or some nonsense like that. Every little generic population diet has a reduction in calorie at the end. Okay, it's trying to get you to eat less. That's it. Okay, and when we're a group instructor, that's not necessarily the kind of way to go. We can create a calorie deficit by eating properly, by looking after metabolism, increasing our steps, increasing our exercise intensity, which a lot of people kind of forget. When you start doing extreme diets, calorie, starvation, 1,000, 1,200 kind of calorie diets, and you're trying to teach 2, 3, 4 classes, it's fucking absurd. It's really, really crazy. Your body has to become very, very efficient, okay? Because it's only getting like this much energy, and you want it to do like this much, okay? It's got to be very, very efficient as to how to make that last. And being efficient in terms of energy isn't a very good thing if you want to have a good, lean, healthy body. So everything kind of down regulates, right? All your metabolism, metabolism hormones, T4, T5 from the thyroid gland, all down regulate. But if you start eating kind of properly, adequate macronutrients across the board, remove anxiety, remove stress, remove all this kind of bad connotation, all this disordered eating, and all this scaremongering, and this guilt about having a cookie or having whatever else now and again, okay? It makes a huge difference. Huge difference. When you make that kind of mindset transfer, like the world is like, it's like this whole new era, So yeah, it's just be very mindful of what those general population diets are trying to kind of do. They will either go keto to remove carbohydrate. Okay, they will take this one out, take this one out, take that one out. But it's a shortcut to disorder eating. It's a shortcut to shooting yourself in the foot when ideally you need to be accountable, set some reasonable targets, do a little bit of tracking to kind of get a rough idea on food labels, on what foods have what, consistency, long-term kind of short-term goal, long-term kind of goal. Stop comparing to the filtered highlight reel of the Insta six-pack shredders out there that aren't even living close to what you're doing on a daily basis. Okay, compare what you're doing with somebody that's doing that. Okay, if that makes sense. So those bodybuilding, physique type prep diets, not really for GFIs. Okay, those generic population diets trying to get people that are from 4, 5, 6 stone obese to obviously being a little bit having a lower weight, losing body fat, probably not really the approach that you want to be taking, because it's not relevant to our job, to your role. Okay, yeah, and hence the reason why, very last thing, this will be the last thing I kind of talk about, I promise, is about kind of sugar, right? So the reason why people kind of freak out about sugar, obviously the first part is about insulin, but the reason, so sugar doesn't cause obesity. Sugar does not, it's just 6 carbons, 12 hydrogens, and 6 oxygens, right? It's a simple sugar, it has 4 calories per gram. Tastes very sweet, all right? It's not very filling. So what tends to happen is people tend to overeat foods that have high refined kind of sugar content. Okay, so people that aren't active, people that generally are maybe a bit kind of lazy and all that kind of stuff, will have bad diets, have a very bad food relationship, and will either kind of binge eat or have a low self-esteem or whatever else. Okay, they will just generally overeat. That was causes weight gain. It's consistent overeating of calories over time, not because that person has had a donut or had a chocolate bar. Okay, you can eat a chocolate bar and lose weight. You can eat a chocolate bar every day and lose weight. You can have McDonald's every day and lose weight, as long as you stay in a calorie deficit. Okay, so sugar can be handy. Those high GI, highly processed foods for us as GFIs, for performance recovery, can be very, very handy. Honestly, it can be super handy. But obviously, it's not a free license to have countless, countless milkshakes, countless ice creams, countless McFlurries and everything else without being accountable, without being realistic, without appreciating, what we are doing. So it's just that little bit of mindfulness, I guess, and awareness as to why people feel about sugar. We don't really need to freak out too much, as long as we don't kind of take the piss and we just apply a bit of common sense. We're absolutely fine. Okay, and obviously, high nutrition foods, your potatoes, rice, salmon, beef, nuts, beans are good. Fruits, vegetables, all the good old fashioned stuff is still there. Spinach, fantastic. Yogurt's fantastic. Oh, hang on. So I'm viewing I'm viewing somebody's screen here quickly. Let me just see what's going on here. So it just threw me off. Somebody's sharing their screen with me. Okay, I'm back again. I don't know if I went off your screen or not, but somebody was sharing the screen with me by accident, I think. So yeah, I think that's it. Whatever I was kind of saying. Yeah, you don't need to freak out. Yeah, there's still those high nutrition foods are still there. Okay, absolutely. We still need to be consistent, moderate and high value foods, but don't be afraid of that odd cheeky milkshake donut every now and again when you are banging out those kind of classes and kind of stuff like that. Okay, and if it helps you get through COVID and lockdown by having a bar of chocolate a day, fucking crack on. Okay, absolutely just crack on. It's not really a problem. Okay, not really a problem as long as you're accountable and consistent, etc., etc. Okay, so that is that pretty much. I think we've done enough. It's about 50 minutes worth. Hopefully you found it valuable. Hopefully there's been some stuff there you can definitely kind of take away with. Hopefully there's been some stuff there away that you also maybe just either partially reconfirmed what you already know, and then also hopefully a couple of little things, little golden nuggets of information and knowledge that maybe you didn't know, hopefully. So yeah, hopefully we'll put you in a good mindset as to how to increase your performance, your recovery, how to structure your kind of diet around your unique lifestyle. And when it changes to going more or less classes, you know how to kind of make those changes in as well. And a couple of targets to kind of aim for, fiber-wise, calorie-wise, carbohydrate-wise. You've got a rough idea now about insulin and kind of glucagon. You know, every time someone mentions insulin, you can now remember, you know, the webinar and all that kind of stuff is what was being said about the storage and all this kind of thing. And glucagon working in the opposite direction. And that's it, hopefully. So thank you very, very much again. I've really enjoyed these. The very first one of these webinars was just a complete impromptu board. What should I do? Let's just have a wee chat kind of thing. And then it's just sort of rumbled on and on. This is number 4, I think. Next week, I guess we'll be doing fats, probably, just to round up all the macronutrients, and we'll see what happens from there. So send out the email a couple of days' time. I'll be picking up my wee one tomorrow morning. I'll have her over for a wee sleepover. So I'll probably be just whenever, but it'll be in the post, if that makes sense. It'll get sent out. The PDF should be pretty kind of cool. It's just bullet points of information, literally. So when the email comes, or do tag me now, let me know, message me, whatever else. Let me know if you enjoyed it. Let me know if there's anything you want me to discuss. And yeah, hopefully it was a good one. All right, cool. So thank you very much, and have a great week and weekend, and we shall see you